I'm Bella, the Maker Mama boss lady behind Fiber and Fox, and this is episode 54 of my podcast. We are doing the unedited raw version again. If you are just joining me, I am a crochet designer. I also knit. I talk about it here with you guys, and typically my setting is a little bit different. We're doing some renovations in our home that will eventually be the Fiber and Fox headquarters, office, craft room, homeschool room, whatnot. But we're almost done. My husband is like finishing up the quarter round trim, baseboardy stuff, trigonometry, as we speak. And normally I edit all the podcasts. I feel like I have to explain this every time just in case someone's new, but if you're not, I'm sorry. I normally edit everything and make it all neat and clean and add in photos and all sorts of good stuff, but don't have access to the editing software while we packed all of our stuff in our basement to do the renovations. So, yes, we're just uploading raw videos. This is probably, maybe, hopefully, really the last one. I will at least be able to record in the other room as of next time, but it will hopefully have some stuff in it because it's really echoey in there, but it's looking beautiful and I'm really excited to share it with you. So all that to say, thank you for being here. I appreciate you, and I hope that you find something you like here if it's your first time, and that you consider sticking around, subscribing. Everything you need to know about me is linked down below the video. I have links to my blog and my Instagram and my shops and all of that. And there's also links to show notes for anything that I'm going to mention. Usually with the regular podcast content, I have titles up on the screen of any patterns I mention, although I do have one pattern today. I usually share all that info on the screen as well, but if you need info, I will be linking it down below. I think that's it on the admin bit. I don't have a ton to share with you today, but I figured I'd get on for, just accountability and showing up sake that I am still here. So, finished objects, I guess. We'll just jump right in. What I'm wearing is overalls and a tank top, so I don't have anything to share with you there. Blankets. We're talking blankets today. I have two blankets. One that's, it's most of a blanket, I guess. They're both kind of cheaty because I didn't just whip up two blankets in the last week, but as we've been doing the office renovations, packed stuff up, I'm trying to very seriously consider what I want to bring back into that office space, stash-wise, and just otherwise kind of been doing some decluttering. Also have hit the third trimester of pregnancy, so I'm kind of in that nesting mode, want to declutter, organize. So I've kind of been going through some of my yarn, and as we get it in the room, I'm going to go through it more. But had a lot of acrylic stash and stuff that I've gone through and donated in the last couple weeks, and found a couple projects that were most of the way, part of the way done. So decided those either needed to leave the house or needed to be finished. So I finished up this one and am working on finishing another one. So if you have been with me for, I guess, a couple years now, 2020, I was like, let's make a lockdown blanket. It was a thing that people are doing when, desperate times. And we thought lockdown was going to be not for eternity. I'm not even sure. If you know when lockdown officially ended in your area, feel free to let me know. But I don't know when the end date of that was, or when the end of have we ended the pandemic? I don't even know. So yes, started out as 2 weeks and then I knew it was going to be more than 2 weeks. So I was like, all right, I'll do this lockdown blanket, maybe it'll be a month or two. I was going to do a hexagon every day in one color per week. So 7 hexagons in one color, and then switch colors and join them as I go. I think I was following a pattern by Potter and Bloom, who was also doing a join as you go lockdown blanket at the time. I think she also petered out on hers for the same reasons, but yeah, so I had one in the works. Oh boy. It's really hard to show blankets. I'm sorry. Again, normally I'd put in some footage or photos or something, but we do what we can here. And I meant to count up how many hexagons are actually here, but I got a couple months in on the lockdown blanket situation and just lost all willpower to continue, knowing that lockdown wasn't ending anytime soon. And also just started kind of running out of I didn't want to buy yarn for it. I was trying to use yarn that I had in stash, so I started running out of quantities that were large enough to do 7 days in the same color. So it started getting scrappy and weird. So I was joining as I was going. So, this is week 1 in the red. So I was joining as I was going and trying to sew in the ends every couple weeks or so. So the majority of what I had the ends sewn in already. So I couldn't really frog it. And it's only, I don't know, probably, how tall are you? Maybe like 2 feet tall, and it's got to be about 5'3" wide, because that's maybe 5'4", 5'5" wide, because that's about how tall I am. But I was aiming for something that was like maybe twin bed size, but with the whole lockdown situation, it probably would have been king bed size if I had kept going, and just didn't feel like buying yarn for it. Or I don't really like join as you go blankets, or hexagons for that matter. I don't know. It seemed like a good idea when you were sitting home doing nothing else. But yeah, just definitely. I'd love to know if you started a project in 2020 that seemed like a good idea at the time, if you actually finished it. So let me just do a quick count here. Let's see how many weeks we have. 1, 2, 4, 11, 12, 14, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19-ish weeks, I think I made it, which is, a while, but didn't make a whole blanket. So I had sewn in the ends on the majority of the back of it. And then I think I had another month or so that I hadn't sewn in the ends, so I ended up frogging those out. I was donating a bunch of acrylic yarn to my grandmother, who makes Afghans and donates hats and the like. So I figured I'd wrap up those little hexagon bits, and she could use them for granny squares if she wanted to. I was originally going to just donate the yarn to like Goodwill or something, but it was a lot of bits, and I had like a whole trash bag full of yarn. So went to my grandmother, and she's putting it to good use, and it's just kind of full circle because she taught me how to crochet, and gave me pretty much all the yarn I started out with, which you might even see some of later. So it was nice to give some back to her. But yeah, so I now have this, I guess we could call it a throw. It's definitely longer than it is wide, but I figured I could use it, I don't know, on the floor for a baby, or toss it over the back of a chair or something. Didn't want to just throw it out, because I did, do all of this work, but I'm not super in love with it. I tried to make like the placement of the hexies, instead of like just joining them in lines. I was trying to make it kind of random and honeycomb-ish, but it's also kind of just chaotic. A lot of fun saturated rainbow colors, which I like. It's all acrylic yarn. No idea what any of it is, just all scrap stuff. But yeah, so now I just have this oddly shapen, longer than it is wide throw thing. That didn't quite have the heart to get rid of, but don't super love as a finished object. But I did finish it up, and I had considered doing a border, because this edge is fairly flat, like the top edge is slightly wavy, but the edge along the the width side, the hexagons are very clearly half, like just not finished off, not flat. And initially, I think with the lockdown blanket, my plan was to do like half hexies in here and go around in black or gray or something. But I don't care enough. And again, I don't want to go buy more acrylic yarn as I'm trying to remove it. Cat, are you okay? Okay, cat's good. Yeah, so it's gonna just have weird edges, I guess. I don't know. Do you guys like join as you go blankets? When I first started crocheting, blankets were definitely my thing. I did granny squares and didn't join them as I went. I don't like join as you go. I always mess it up somehow. But yeah, I don't need more blankets. I don't want more blankets. And I don't know, blankets don't really give me joy unless it was like something that was like a really beautiful. I don't know what kind of blanket would give me joy. But anything where you have to make the same shape over and over again, even if it's in different colors at this point, is just, it's just not fun. So I did finish this, and we're calling it a finished object, and I have it now. So that is the lockdown blanket situation, I suppose. And then there's another blanket WIP. Let me have a sip of my iced tea here. The other blanket WIP. It seems like I've accomplished a ton on all these blankets, but we're calling this the 10-year blanket because I literally have had these squares sitting in my basement in one form or another for 10 years. I started knitting. Here, let me show you these squares. Or a square. So I started knitting these squares. Oh, and I meant to grab the straight needles. I was knitting them on. They're in the other room. I don't remember what size they were. I was going to grab them to show you. But they were blue aluminum straight needles. I think that either my mom or my grandma had given me. And I had knit just a whole slew of acrylic, black, and various rainbow shades in stockinette stitch. I think it's like 40 stitches by 40-ish rows. Almost square. They're not like perfect squares, I don't think. Hard to tell because they're so curly. No, they're not perfectly square, but square-ish. Square-ish squares that I had started knitting when we first got married and moved to Washington. Quick backstory on us. Met my husband here in Connecticut. We're friends for years. He joined the military, and we dated long distance, got married, and then moved out to Washington State where he was stationed. So moved across the country away from everybody and everything that was here. I've shared it a couple different times on a couple different episodes or backstories or something. But so I was uprooted to Washington and was so excited to finally be with my husband, who we had been long distance for such a long time. We were like long distance for the first 6 months of our marriage too, because he deployed right away after we got married. So I was so excited to be with him, but most of the day, are you coming to sit with me? Hi. Most of the day he was at work and I was alone and at that time unemployed and just didn't quite know what to do with myself, and was really struggling at that point. And crocheting and knitting when that came in, or I don't remember if I brought yarn out with me. I must have, because I had, or my parents flew out with yarn. I don't even remember how the yarn got to me because I don't think I moved with yarn. I moved with 2 suitcases and a cat. And I don't think any of it was yarn. But I also don't think I amassed all of this yarn immediately. So I'm not sure where the yarn came from. Some of it may have been from my grandmother or thrifted, estate sailed. I don't know where I got the yarn, but it's all acrylic. And at that time I had a lot of free time and a lot of emotional stuff I was processing, so I did a lot of knitting and crocheting, and that's kind of when my crochet business was started too. But I think this blanket actually happened before that. So I was just making these squares, and the intent was that it would be, I think, a baby blanket for our someday child, which was like the hypothetical child at that point. And I really liked non-traditional baby colors. Like, I still don't like pastels and stuff. I've softened up a little bit having a daughter. I've come to grips with the pink and the peach and all of that, but very much like saturated rainbow tones is my thing. So I was making this blanket, or making these squares and stashing them all in this box, and I think I ended up with like 70 or so of them. And they have approximately 80 bajillion ends per square because they're striped. And all the stripes are varying stripe sequences, but all the same size, with black and some color yarn. I will show you the blanket in a second, it'll make sense. But yeah, and then I think I just got either confused about how I was going to join them because they were knitted, and I hadn't really crocheted blankets at that time. And I still, up until now, hadn't ever joined like a knitted blanket of any kind. I don't know if that's a thing that people do. I guess people knit squares and join them. But I hadn't done that. So they were just sitting in a box with their 7 bajillion ends, and there's so many ends. But I pulled them out and I was like, these have been sitting in the basement. I've moved them from Washington to Connecticut, and then to 3 locations within Connecticut. So they've been moved like 4 times in this box that they've been living in. And they've been sitting in our basement in our house currently for 5 years. And it was ridiculous. So I was like, we either have to make this into something or it has to leave, because hasn't made itself into anything in 10 years. So I took all the squares and I laid them all out, all different stripe sequences and colors. And it's definitely not baby blanket size. It's obviously with 70 squares of that size, it wasn't going to be. But it's going to be maybe twin beddish size. Like this will last him his lifetime, I guess. Yeah. So I have all these squares. So many squares. And they're so stripey and they're really fun. I wasn't sure I liked them. Again, acrylic yarn is kind of not my go-to anymore. Now that I've just gotten more comfortable in fiber arts and know that other yarn is available, and I kind of have a better idea of what I like, and even just like not a huge fan of like worsted weight anymore, definitely more finer gauge yarns. But I couldn't let them go to waste, and I knew if I donated them, probably nobody would do anything with them ever. And I don't know, it just felt like a project that I needed to finish, like mentally close that chapter. Yeah, so I laid them all out, and to the best of my ability, don't have any colors or stripes next to each other that didn't match up. And I now have, again, this is approximately about 5 feet wide, and it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think I have 3 more rows to join, and this is about, I don't know, 5 or 6 feet so far. 5.5 maybe. So it's going to be probably like 5 by 7 or so. Maybe a little more. Very large and very heavy, because this is a very densely knit. I didn't know anything about gauge or anything at that point. I just love stripes and rainbows, and still do. But it's a dense fabric. I don't know if you can see, but like you can't see it through it at all. So it's very heavy. And while they all are acrylic and worsted weight, the gauge on them is not exactly the same, between the yarns. So some of them are a little like wonky where they join. And I'm going to probably have to steam block it. I don't normally steam block things. I normally wet block things, but acrylic doesn't really wet block. So I'm hoping I can either get it absolutely soaking wet and hang it somewhere, and it will sort its, like on a quilt rack, drying rack or something, sort its lumpiness out. I'm trying to join it to the best of my smoothing ability, but yes, some of the tension between the different squares is a little funky on some of them. I think I ended up doing 6 squares by 10 squares. I had about 70, but I took some out, like these. I have some like peach and lavender colored ones, and then just a couple that were not executed super well. So the extra ones and the pastelier colors I might make into a tiny baby blanket or something for my daughter, or I might just let them go at that point. Kind of over it, but I've spent the last week or so joining these up, and I still have 3 rows to go. What I ended up doing was going around each square with a crochet hook. So they are knit squares, but I went around with a crochet hook around the border of each, just in single crochet, and using good old Had It in Stash, classic acrylic, Red Heart Super Saver No Dye Lot Black. And I don't even know if the blacks within the blanket all match. Maybe. I don't know what I was using. It was probably also Red Heart, but there might be different blacks in there. But again, it's fine. So I went around each of the squares. I don't even know what that sound was. Did you hear that? A really angry truck? A Tyrannosaurus? I don't know. That was loud. No editing, hooray. I seamless joined into the crochet. And it gives you a pretty, you can't really see it because it's black, but that's the back side. So there's a ridge on the back and then nice and smooth on the front, which is a method I've used in crochet blankets before. I have no idea how you would knit join a blanket together. I guess you could pick up stitches on like a circular needle and knit across. because I've been joining them all whatever wise this is. So making one big strip and then joining the next strip to the next row, if that makes sense at all. I don't feel like any of this podcast is making sense. But yeah, I'm almost done with the joining part. And I feel like it looks pretty good. Overall, pretty good. I have no idea what I'm showing you. Hopefully you're getting a view of it. But yeah, then there's this whole situation of, because I chose to do stripes. Oh my. There are so many ends. Just like so many. There's probably like 30 ends per some of these squares. And there's 60 squares. This is one that when I sew in the ends, I'm definitely saving them all in a pile. And yeah, just feeling accomplished when I'm done. There's so many ends. So many. But if there's about 60 squares, that's, even if I do one a day, I can get them all sewn in 2 months. Which is still before my son is born, but he's not going to need this blanket until he's like 5. Because this is just, I don't know. And I don't know if I like it enough to even do like, it's kind of really bright and crazy. I do like it, but it's not a good like backdrop to do like baby photos or like monthly photos or whatever. Because I'm going to try to do that. I know second child, that sometimes gets iffy, but I'm going to try to do that because I really like having the month by month for that first year with my daughter. But yeah, I feel like this blanket is going to have to be in some photo somewhere, but it is a lot of colors. And some of them are like very, like this neon green it's a lot. And then there's some really, really bright red. And I think the only part that I don't like so far is I don't like this swath here. I joined too many. Those two are like the same stripe sequence, and I don't like the green and the red together. But other than that, I feel like I've randomized it pretty well, and overall, like all of the little corner joins are nice and they meet up nicely. And the nice thing about the random stripe sequences, or the different stripe sequences, is that I don't have to line up each square with the other one like perfectly, because the stripes don't actually line up. Like it would be much harder to line up if they were all like this. So thankfully they're kind of randomish. And yeah, I'm going to feel really accomplished when this is done. I don't know, again, just like the lockdown blanket, like I don't know if I love it, but I don't hate it. But when I lay it out all on the floor, I do think it looks really cool with the stripes in like some sort of fun vintagey way. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts. Do we love or hate this? I wouldn't recommend this method of blanket. Like, yeah, it's just, I don't know. I don't know what it reminds me of. But it has, I feel like you could buy something that looked like this. Maybe not in the acrylic, but I feel like it is cool. It is cool looking with the stripes. So, I'm going to get it done. I'm going to get it done, and my son is going to have a massive twin size winter blanket for whenever he needs one, I guess. He goes to college. I'll have the end sewn in before then, I promise. Oh yeah. I knit the baby blanket that I showed last time for like tiny baby blanket purposes. And I did sew my daughter a blanket, and I feel a little guilty that I haven't done one for my son, and I probably will, but I hate sewing so much. But I did sew her like a quilt thing, so not even really a quilt, like a quilted thing with like soft, like minky fabric on the back. So I don't know, but she's not even that attached to it. Like, it's in her room. She uses it for winter, but it's not like her blankie or anything. So maybe I'll make him one. I'm just trying to not neglect my second child. But he is going to have a massive knit blanket that took me 10 years. So that's a good story, I suppose. I'm just overwhelmed by the ends. It's going to tackle one square at a time. And I could have, someone's going to be like, you should just have joined them as you went, or like caught them as you, whatever, sewn them, crocheted over them, crocheted over your ends. I don't trust that on blankets. I do that in garments sometimes, or something that I know is not going to, I don't know, isn't going to have the possibility to come loose, but I think blankets get wiggled around so much and used so much that it is important to secure them properly. So I'm going to finish joining all of them. It'll be taking another 2 days to finish putting on the rest of those rows. And then, depending on how much black yarn I have left, because I don't want to go get more black yarn, I am going to do some sort of a border around the edge just to smooth it out and give it a good finish, I guess. And then maybe try to steam block it at that point, just so I feel like it's done. But yeah, the ends. So I'll update you when I have a pile of ends, because it's gonna be amazing. It's gonna get done. Hold me to it. We've made it this far. It's taken us 10 years. I'm finishing it this year. And then the only other WIP that I have at the moment, let me grab our sip of tea. I went strawberry picking today, so I put strawberries in my iced tea. Fanciness. Only other WIP I think I showed last time, I had just gotten started, is the Juniper Grove socks. Oh, I'm in the middle of a row because that's reasonable. Juniper Grove socks by the Blue Mouse Knits. I will link her YouTube channel in the show notes for you. It's kind of going to be the only link in the show notes because I can't link. I guess I can try to find the Potter and Bloom pattern, but can't really link that other blanket pattern. Can't really link those yarns. So we'll just talk about these. They are a textured kind of broken rib. Oh, that's the back seam. So broken rib-esque, really dense and cozy, stretchy, very wintry pair of socks because of the yarn that I have chosen. Not a practical summer knit at all, but it's at least smaller than the blanket, which I'm not lugging around with me. Although I haven't been doing a ton of, I did bring it to the lake a couple times. Not a ton of portable knitting or crocheting the last couple weeks. And I'm using 2 of these cones. I've talked about them multiple times. They are from Green Mountain Spinnery. They are mill ends, and they are not great on their own, but they are great on their own, but they're not strong on their own. But I'm hoping that holding them together will help, and as I get to the heels and toes, I'm going to hold them with nylon quilting thread to add some durability there, because it is just like a single plied mill end, but I've talked about those cones multiple times now, so I'm not going to cover that all again. But yeah, that's the only WIPs that I have going right now. The blanket, I have been trying to just focus on that because I want it to be done. But I do need to, I still have the whole mohair situation. Still haven't committed to, oh, actually, I don't think I had this mohair last. I think I talked about it coming. Let me grab it. It's right here. Didn't think I had any acquire rings this time, but I do. Fiber for the people. She does pretty regular updates, and black mohair. Another very practical summer choice, I know. This isn't her colorway Sable, which is a black, but it has like a, almost like a, it's kind of picking up like a blue-green undertone to it. It's definitely black, but I don't know, just really beautiful. So I have this mohair, and then I have the purple mohair I talked about last time, and I'm gonna make something top-wise. It's probably gonna end up being the ranunculus, but I need to decide. We have a summer vacation coming up in a bit, and I need to figure out what my vacation projects are gonna be. Need them to be portable, need them to be fairly mindless, need them to be, like black mohair is not gonna be a good choice because we're gonna be camping in a camper, so the lighting, like most of my knitting or crocheting is probably going to happen at night once my daughter goes to bed, and maybe around like a campfire with like a neck light on. So black lace weight yarn is a really bad choice. Almost black purple yarn is probably also a really bad choice, but I guess that could be my daytime project. But I need a really like bright mindless pair of socks, so I kind of have to finish those socks. And I don't know, something crochet. maybe I'll get the Ruana started for that. That will be pretty mindless once I get it going. I don't know. I need summer projects. I need vacation projects. And apparently my overalls are now coming off. I am just a put together. Just whole package right now. Thanks for watching my podcast. So yeah, I gotta commit to some, because I know on vacation I like mostly want to knit and crochet. Like, I mean, obviously spend time with my family and do other things too, but sitting by lakes or pools or in a camper or whatever we're doing, I'm going to want projects to work on. I have mohair in my eye now. My cat is coming to sit on my blanket so that I can't work on it. You do not sit on my mohair, that's fancy. You're not that fancy. I know you can't see her, but there's a tiny cat. Right, can I show you without breaking things? Hi. You blend right into the blanket. Yeah. So that's episode 54, I guess. No crochet really to share other than I'm crocheting around a blanket and I need projects. I have a shawl in testing, and yeah, that's pretty much all I got this time for you. So thank you for coming to hang out with me. I promise we are going to get these episodes back on their regular track. I have vlogs that I need to edit, backlogged because of not being able to access the software on my husband's computer. Like I said, I have a vlog. I want to do at some point a vacation knitting crochet vlog when I figure out what those projects are, packing for vacation kind of vlogs. Those are always fun. I need to do like a stash update. I need to do a new office update vlog, tour, organization, something. So I have a lot of content coming, but right now we're just in this weird in-between phase. And yeah, thanks for being here for it. Appreciate you. I will see you in episode 55, and maybe, I keep promising, but maybe we'll be in the new office space, whether it's in its final stages or not. Hopefully I can at least have some stuff in there, get rid of the echo, and have you join me in my new exciting space. Thank you for being you and for hanging out with me. I will see you next time. Bye. Forgot I wasn't editing and I didn't have to pause, so I'm going to stop it now. Thanks, guys. See ya.